Hey, good morning, everybody. Trisha Turner here with your daily dose of encouragement. This is Anything But Average, Achieving Success in Life. And I'm super excited because I got my good friend with me this morning, Woods Davis. Good
What's up,
morning,
Trisha?
Woods.
It's awesome to be here with you.
Love it. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of backstory about Woods. Woods is probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And he is, I swear you guys, this is no joke. When I get on a call with him, like there's no multitasking allowed because his brain is wired. He's a genius. His brain is wired so intense that when I'm on a call with him, it's like I have to be laser focused. I have to turn away from my computer. Everything I got to be focused on our conversation, and it is so cool. I've never met anyone like you, Woods. I love it. And his marketing skills are again top notch. So this is just a real treat for you guys to be able to hear from Woods and hear what he's going to drop on you guys today. So Woods, share a little bit about your backstory, where you're from, where you are in the United States, and a little bit for everybody to know you.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm actually here in Frisco, Texas, and I moved here probably, I guess it's been almost 5 years ago. From there, before that I was in Arizona, and I think for people who maybe don't know a little bit about my story, I've always been in real estate. Kind of started out as a real estate investor. Actually, I started out in the mortgage business. And that's where I really kind of cut my teeth and learned that real estate was kind of like the vehicle that most people that I knew that were very successful in life, they had something to do with real estate. And so I knew that I just wanted to be successful. And I'm like, well, I want to learn how real estate works. So I got into the mortgage business. And quickly found out that the mortgage business was, it was a sales job, and I was a sales professional. And I think that a lot of people don't realize how important sales is and how much everything you do in life is sales. But I quickly found out that I did not have sales skills. And the good thing is that skills can be learned. So I invested in myself and learn some of those skills. And along the way, I was really fortunate because, I learned how to start investing in marketing to generate clients. I started out I used to hate it, to be honest. I would cold call people. I literally started cold calling people out of the phone book. I had no clue, right? But what was crazy was at that time, this is probably like 2000 and maybe 2003, 2004, I could literally have success by doing that. It just took a lot of hours. I was on the phone all day making hundreds of calls, and I had a little system. I knew I had to, I knew that I had to get in my 25 conversations. Like I had to get 25 conversations a day. That was my goal. And my 25 conversations would lead to my 4 applications, and my 4 applications would lead to 2 appointments, and my 2 appointments would lead to 1 loan. Right. So I knew that. Yeah. So it was doable, but it wasn't fun. It just wasn't fun. And I'll never forget, one day this guy came into our office and he started having success very early on. And I was like, man, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I send out these postcards. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, that sounds good. I want people calling me instead of me being the one calling them. Right. So I started, I literally copied in exactly what he was doing, which is kind of my template for success. People think that I'm, a great marketer. I literally just copy, and borrow and try to learn the principles and apply them to my niche. And I think that that's a secret of success for most successful people that I know, is that, people aren't trying to go out and recreate the wheel. They're just trying to take the things that other people have used that are already successful, learn the principles so you understand them at a deep level, and then you can apply them in your own business. So that was kind of like my introduction into oh my gosh, marketing. And literally it changed my life. I started using postcards, and then I started getting inbound calls, people calling me. And that literally like just made my life fun. It made work better. And I learned that I could invest money and get a return on that investment. And I could get my time back. And so I was all in, and that really shifted my mind. And I got into real estate investing and started, doing a lot of things. I think maybe I'm not alone, but probably during, the really crazy years, 2005, 2006, all 2007, did lots of speculative investing. I was way too big for my britches back then. I was just a young kid in his 20s, and with millions of dollars of debt and just crazy, very risky stuff. Right.
Sure.
Fortunately, I didn't lose too bad. I mean, I made money on the upside, definitely lost a lot of money on the way down. But in that process, I was introduced to a fellow investor, and we were doing a lot of things all over the country. And so what we kind of learned, I kind of learned inadvertently, was that I could take the same systems and processes and things that I was using in Southwest Florida at that time, and I could apply that in Boise, Idaho. I could apply that in, all of these other areas where we were doing deals.
Sure.
And I'll never forget, it was like we had a hurricane, I think it was in 2006, and it was like the market just shut off. It was kind of like the circumstances that we're, in now, which for some people it's shut off, but there's a lot of other people that the faucet's still flowing, and maybe we can talk about that here in a moment.
Oh yeah.
But for us, it was like the market just shifted, and I told everybody, I was like, guys, the market's going to crash. It's going to crash hard. It's already crashed here. It's all stopped. And so we started looking for alternatives to what I was doing, because like I said, what I was doing was super speculative. It was relying on appreciation and things that were not going to be happening for the next foreseeable future. So, I long story short, man, I met another investor who was doing lots of short sales, and he had an amazing system. And I was like, hey, listen, we know how to do things at scale and do things all over the country. You've got a great little system. I want to learn how to do short sales. I want to learn your system. Let's partner and let's blow this thing up and do it on a national scale. And so that's what we did. And I immersed myself into short sales, would go out on appointments and learn how to meet with the homeowners, learn how to interact with them, learn how to negotiate the deals, learn how to, the tipping points on the transaction, how to influence the BPO, make sure that our numbers work, know how it works with the bank, and how, mortgage servicers worked with investors on the secondary market, and how the delegated authority worked between those servicing agreements in order to get deals approved, and basically systematizing every part of the short sale process, because without a system, you can really run into a lot of problems. In fact, there was a lot of people that avoided short sales until they had to do them.
Yeah.
And so I just Oh yeah. I mean, they can be a nightmare, right? But I just leaned in, and between 2009, 2013, did a little over 5,000 short sales, and in that process, learned a lot about marketing and how to generate those clients, at scale. And since then, I've just had I think a lot of great experiences on the marketing side of real estate, helping people. What I'm passionate about, I love helping people learn how to market, learn how to take the same path that I took, which was like discovering how to turn strangers into clients. And that's like what I'm super passionate about. So right now I do that with, we have an inner circle, I coach agents, also have some software that we recently launched called Attract ROI, where we're literally taking all the funnels and systems and processes and things that we created and putting them into a software. So that's my story. right? And
So
that's
you've
that's
been
why
through
we're
like the
here.
mortgage industry crash. You've been through things that shape things up, shift things around, and paralyze people. What were you focusing on to make sure you never got into a situation like that where you were paralyzed?
Listen, you always have a move, and trust me, it's not that I wasn't, I didn't feel fear and didn't face tough circumstances, because I did, man. I will be the first one to tell you, I lost my shirt. I remember being, I remember writing, having to bring $175,000 check to the close when I, sold my house in Florida to move. And it was funny because I was just recently down in Naples, and we drove by my old house, and I remember all the positive, good things about it. But behind the scenes, I remember, how devastating those circumstances change. Because the one thing that I've learned is that stuff is always going to change. And the good news is like, you can look at that in one of two ways. Change either creates new opportunities that didn't exist before in the marketplace, or it's going to disrupt the status quo of the way that you've always done things.
Yep.
I've just trained myself to be I have my radar out, looking for new opportunities, looking for new ways to add value, right? And create value in the marketplace. Because I've just learned that your ability, like money and success and all of that stuff, it's all that stuff is just kind of a scorecard of the value that you create in the marketplace. And I think what happens with people that are scared of change, or that are scared of different circumstances as they arise, they've gotten to a place where maybe they're comfortable, maybe they're complacent, maybe they're not doing things in their life, putting themselves in uncomfortable circumstances. So they're comfortable being uncomfortable, not always pushing forward, right? And so so to me, those people that are in those circumstances, you can either put yourself in uncomfortable circumstances and act, or you can be acted upon and end up in uncomfortable circumstances.
Yeah.
I just would rather be on the front end of it, always kind of pushing for the next thing, always pushing for the next phase. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love you, Trisha, is I think that you're just such a grower. And I think that's why, you've attracted a lot of like-minded people that want to do business with you. I think that's why you have such a successful business. I think that's the reason why we're live here, broadcasting on a platform that 99.9% of people are using to just consume, right? You're creating value in the marketplace while most people are consuming, right?
Yep.
And I think that's the difference, and it's something that we have in common.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that. As you know, I acquired a lake house a few months ago. It was an opportunity. I wasn't seeking it. I stumbled upon it. I went to a listing appointment. It was something I could not pass up. Now, looking back on it, I was having a conversation with my dad about 2 weeks ago when all this was coming about. And he's like, how's business? And he's, my dad and I usually don't see eye to eye business-wise because he's one of the old school methods. And so he's like, boy, I bet you're wishing you wouldn't have bought that lake house now. And I said, are you out of your mind? No, I'm not wishing. I'm grateful that I did, because that was an opportunity. And this is going to enable me to go further faster now, especially. And like I told him, I go, and worst case scenario, if coronavirus gets crazy in Houston, I'm just going to run to the lake house and hide, So I didn't see it as a bad thing. I'm like, this is a great thing. It's the mindset, though, It
is a mindset, and I just always want to be on the side of optimism, and I think, honestly, in my life, sometimes because I've leaned so far on the optimistic side, maybe I've even done some things that, almost naively, because I haven't been skeptical. Like I said, I've definitely done lots of different things. I've lost money, I've failed plenty of times. Right. But to me, those are just learning opportunities, man. And I'd always rather be on that side, I remember I had something kind of tragic happen with a business partner, and it was a little, it was a little, it was a little wounding at the time, because I felt like I'd maybe been a little naive and a little bit taken advantage of.
Oh, yeah.
And I did, and I started to have that little bit of like that victim start to creep in, and I'm very anti that, you know.
Yep.
And you know, I'll just never forget, you know, I just, you know, I was really struggling with some of those feelings, and I just told myself, I said, you know what, like, I would rather be, you know, be taken advantage of, from time to time, but be the type of person who is not skeptical, who is not like negative. You know, I'd rather be the type of person that's positive, optimistic, and you know what? And if I really am honest with myself and I look back, the good has always outweighed the bad.
100%.
So there's no win in just playing defense and trying to focus on protecting yourself from the bad. You win by playing offense and focusing on the good, focusing on where you're winning, right? And it's just so that really kind of helped me. And now I even look back at all those circumstances. I'm grateful, and you know, and I'm empathetic towards that person's situation. And you know, and honestly, with pure accountability, think that there's things that, you know, I obviously could have done to be maybe, you know, a better friend, a better person. Maybe not, you know, some of my naivete, you know, could have just been chalked up to inexperience. And so now I have that experience, and I think that I'd handle it different.
Yeah, because it's like that will never happen to you again because you learned from it, you know?
Exactly. But like, but I'm not jaded. Like, I'm not jaded towards like other people or entering into relationships, because that's what happens, right? Like, you know, people can get burned or have a negative experience, and be, if it's especially ones that are really painful. Like, I mean, I think about when I've had really negative experiences, like, or in business, like losing, you know, lots of money, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on real estate deals and stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do that again. And but you know what? No, I mean, it's like, well, what could you learn? How could you have done it differently? You know, and that's what's fun. And I just love life. I love learning. I'm like in the constant pursuit of truth and trying to figure things out, trying to get better. And man, I mess up all the time. But the good news is like, I can start new every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that mindset where people, they get so focused on what happened yesterday. They're like, gosh, I can't believe I did this. Or I can't believe this happened. It's like, get over it. That was like yesterday. It was so long ago. Yeah. Why? You can't change it. It is what it is. Just like this coronavirus. You can't change it. It's freaking here. It is what it is. It'll be gone. Just keep moving forward. You can't just stand there and think, you know, it's crazy.
100%. Well, I can tell you that, you know, out of all of the private clients that I work with, you know, the people that you know, that I coach, and you know, that there is a cohort of my probably what I would say are just A+ students, like the people that I just love to work with the most, and they're killing it right now. They're killing it right now. They've had to make adjustments. You know, like, I mean, I was just thinking about one conversation where I was working with a gal, and she had a really great strategy that was working really good for her. She just implemented perfectly, and it was a customer acquisition strategy. And it was like, okay, well, crap. Now with all of this stuff, this has kind of thrown a few kinks into that strategy. We can't really do that same strategy.
Right.
But she was already like, but you know what? I use the same system, and let's go ahead and flip over. We're going to focus on these vacant homes, and we're going to use the same strategy that we were using here for these, you know, for these types of properties with these vacant homes now. And man, she implemented, and dude, she's having success again.
Yeah.
So you always have a move. Always have a move. And the cool thing I think about when you know, when there is like false psychological barriers that are holding other people back. That's an opportunity for the people that are optimistic, that are willing to jump in, that are willing to figure it out, and that are going to be making moves to really take market share, just like I did with short sales. Just like, dude, I help people go from no-name agents to doing hundreds of like over 100 transactions in a year, because they were willing to like be humble and like, okay, I'm going to shift and I'm going to lean in, while other people are retreating. I'm going to focus. And I think that people are naturally attracted to that and drawn to that anyways. So like, if you can kind of be that person and that voice of reason and optimism in your marketplace, then I think that you can really benefit from being very active right now.
It's like you sit and consume just even a few minutes of the news. It's like you want to slit your throat before it's over. It's insane. They're sitting on there talking about opening up, the country so that we can get back to work. And they're talking about these businesses that may never come back, as if, oh, well. And it's like, well, yeah, look who's saying that. You got a secure job. You're a freaking TV anchor person. Hello. What about that business owner? They need to get to work. They don't have a steady paycheck. Just like you and I, we create our own. It's like, I'm not shut down. I'm never going to be shut down. When I die is when that happens. And by then somebody else will be running it, but we have to continue moving forward, because there's so many people and families' lives that depend on us moving forward. We have to.
100%. There's a couple of things that I've learned so one thing that I've learned for me personally is that consuming the news is generally bad for my mindset. And so like I've made decisions and listen, like I fall off my game, and I'm always having to like recheck myself. In fact, I noticed here recently, and I posted about it here recently, that I had gotten off my game a little bit. I was starting to kind of watch the news a lot. I was allowing these things to take me out of my personal routine, right? My little bubble that I've put around myself, like,
you have a very regimented routine.
100% and 100%. And that the discipline for that routine is what brings me happiness. And, but I recognize that, and watching the news was like one of those things. And so I've consciously made the decision to cut myself off from some of that, to make my own news. And listen, and I don't want to downplay in any way. There are definitely people that are in trying circumstances that they can't figure out. But I would just encourage people, man, to think about what you can do. Again, it's not about defense; it's about offense. Like, what can you do right now? Is this when I in my previous office, when I lived in Arizona, I had this beautiful office. I love that office, and it was 2 stories. And on the downside of the story was where all my employees were, and then I had these 2 glass offices up at the top. And I wrote, I had a big thing in vinyl lettering that said the no end zone. The no end zone. And what that meant for me was that when I was in my office upstairs, I was working on the business, and I was not allowed to work in the business. And so when I would go work in the business, I would physically leave my office upstairs, and I'd walk down the stairs, and I would be about, amongst my people and my employees, and I would work in the business. And so right now, like this is a great opportunity. If you're taken out of working in the business, right? Use this opportunity to work on the business. Where can you be creating some systems? Where can you be, focusing on doing some marketing, filling your pipeline, reaching out to people, having conversations with past clients, touching base with people that are important that could help you, doing things like what we're doing right now. We're broadcasting virtually, right? Trying to add value to the marketplace in some way, right?
Trying to help people move forward.
100%. All of those things that are like, that live on some checklist somewhere that are deep down. Maybe now's the time to revisit that and see, what can I bring forward? What can I do to work on my business if I can't work in my business, if I have limitations there? And and I think that's one of the things that I've been really focused on, and it's brought me a lot of joy too, man. There's something that's really great about knocking out those things that have been kind of, on the back of your mind, or like I said, and I call it the backlog, right? Like these are all the things that are on the backlog. They might not be priority now.
Yes.
But
they're to-do list
the backlog
in your mind, you're like, I know I need to do these things, but these other things have so much more priority right now. I have to get these done, that top 5, but you always have these lingering things that if you would actually take the time to do them, it probably would improve some things in your life or your business or both. And so people that aren't doing that right now, it's like, what is wrong with you? There's no greater time than now. What are you doing with your time?
Right.
What do you know?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that it goes with, with all aspects. I mean, I noticed for me too, man, I'd gotten into this little rut where I wasn't working out because I just shifted. So in January, I ran an ultra marathon, and I'd been training for that for like 6 months. So I was sick of running. I was like, and I was so excited because I'm generally kind of like, I'm tall and kind of lanky. So like, I have to work really hard lifting weights and stuff to have the physique that I like to maintain. And when I'm running, like when you're doing an ultra marathon, which is like, it was a 62 or 64 mile race, like you can't keep, it's hard to keep your muscle on. So I was excited about like getting back to the gym, and I just had been going back to the gym, and I was lifting heavy weights, and it felt so great. And I had a new goal set for myself. And then it was like all this happened, and I was like, now it's like I don't have weights at my house. I can't lift weights. And it kind of got me off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I had to set a new goal, and I had to adjust based on the circumstances. And now I have a new goal that's based around these calisthenics, and I've incorporated back into some running as well. But I noticed for me, like if I feel myself starting to be stuck, it's oftentimes because I don't have a clear goal that I'm pursuing.
Yep.
And so I just challenge anybody who's listening to this, if you feel like you're maybe a little bit off your game, you're a little stuck, what is the goal, right? Let's reestablish the goal. And does the goal need to change based on your circumstances? And if so, like, what is that new goal? And what are we going to do on our daily to reverse engineer the success to hit that goal, right? And the like good strategy, bad strategy, the root of a bad strategy is solving the wrong problem. So like we're constantly have to be asking ourselves, like, is what I'm doing right now a good strategy? Am I solving the right problem? And the problem is always going to be elastic to the goal. So it's like, what's the goal? What is the goal? Let's be super clear on the goal. If the goal kind of got fuzzy or it changed a little bit on me, let's reprioritize that, and let's get that crystal clear. Let's nail the goal. Okay, now we're clear on the goal. Okay, now what are we doing on our daily to make sure that we're reaching that? And man, that's a constant process. Like you're constantly doing that. It's time, effort, and energy. I'm fortunate to have some amazing business partners and people that are very strategic in life and help me kind of focus on those things. And so, I think now more than ever is a time to focus on the goal and be strategic with your business, be strategic with your life, because your circumstances are different. You have to have a different strategy. I mean, just the other day, I'll show you, I had to create I had to reprioritize my home life. My home life has changed because my kids are at home.
Right.
I have a teenager and when I have a 12-year-old, that are at home, that now it's like, I just realized, like, okay, our traditional system is out of whack because our system was based around them being at school. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we had to readjust the system, and we sat down for 2 hours, and I co-created a plan with my kids. We all took our phones out, and we created a daily checklist. Like we created a daily rhythm that they all agreed to, just little things, even right down to like, hey, listen, like school starts at 9 a.m., right? Chores start, everybody's up by 7 a.m., right? Like they have certain jobs that our kids are responsible for. And it was just a matter of like, and I noticed like they were resistant at first, but I can tell that they're happier now that they have some structure. They have clear goals, right? They know what success looks like because they're ticking off the boxes on the checklist. So they're generally more happy, right?
Right.
So yeah, so like
you didn't know you were going to have to do that like 6 weeks ago, you know?
I know, right? But it's always worth the time, man. It's always worth the time to put in and create a plan. It's always worth the time.
Because if you don't, you'll get stuck, you know? Like if you wouldn't have sat and done that, because you probably were frustrated, I'm sure, because now you have a distraction at home when you didn't before. And so, like you said, there's always a move. There's always a solution. You just got to figure it out.
Yep.
And you did.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you have clarity.
Yeah.
And peace.
Yeah, clarity and peace are like the biggest things that we should be seeking after. And if we lack clarity, we need to take the time and stop what we're doing and get clear, because people will find the time. They will never find the time to make a plan, and but then they'll just find the time to do things over and over because they did them wrong or they did them out of order.
Right.
And yeah, and that's where you become unhappy, and that's where you feel like you're spinning your wheels. You're not getting traction. And one thing that's helped me too is sometimes like when you have more of a load, if you think about like somebody told me a story one time about about this guy, and he goes up to chop firewood in his truck, and he was excited about this new truck, and he gets stuck in the snow and starts spinning his wheels. He was trying to move the truck to go pick up the firewood where he chopped it down. And his wheels were spinning, and he's kind of freaking out because he's way up in the mountains, and starting to get late.
Sure.
The storms are starting to come in, and he's going to be really in a bad situation. So anyway, so long story short, he kind of prayed about his situation, and he just felt inspired to load the truck up with the wood. He'd gone up there for a purpose, and he went and did it. He loaded the truck all the way up with the wood, and it was the weight of the load that gave him traction. So when the truck was full, he was able to get the traction he needed to drive out of that tough spot. And I feel like sometimes what our natural tendency is when we start to feel things piling up on us, like some people's tendency is to just shut down, right? Yep. And to want to remove things from off their plate. I'm too overwhelmed. I've got, I can't do all of this, right? Yes. I gotta, get some stuff off my plate or whatever it is, right? But if you remember the parable of the load, right? Sometimes what we really need is we need more weight. We need more of a load on us. The load is what helps you be accountable. And when you're an accountable person and you have integrity and you're trying to really make a difference and make an impact, you need the weight of responsibility. You need that. And I saw that was what my kids needed, right? And I know that's what I need, right? I need accountability. I have an accountability group that I post in, for my workouts, and we share our workouts with each other. And and I tell you, listen, we're all imperfect. We're all going to fail. We're going to mess up. We're not going to do what we need to do. Nobody likes to do hard things. The only difference between successful people and people that aren't successful people just do it anyway, right? For whatever reason. And I've gotten to the point to where I don't even care what the reason is. Like I recognize there's like points where I have weaknesses, and I'm like, okay, I've got a weakness right here. I've got to install a little system, that's going to help shore up that weakness. And sometimes that's just accountability. Sometimes it's sharing with somebody something. Sometimes it can be, posting on social media or making that public, making a declaration, putting it out there. So now, oh my goodness, I said I was going to do this. Now I'm accountable to making this happen.
Yeah, I better do it.
Yeah. But it's the little things like that really make the difference. And I think especially right now is just a good time to like refocus on, where are you missing? Where do you need to kind of pick the ball back up, especially when it comes to your personal development? Because all of those fundamental things is like, that give you success in your daily life are going to be more critical right now when things are a little bit different and there's change.
Yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, because we're all under this home and shelter place, whatever it's called, not everybody is working all day long. We all have the same amount of time during the day. It's like, what are you doing with your time?
Right.
No one can use the excuse, I'm too busy, I didn't have time for that. No one.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Try that one.
It's true.
You know,
it's true. It's true. It's funny. I honestly, I think I've been working a little too much. You know, I've really leaned in on this time and this opportunity. And I honestly, I believe I'm just super optimistic about the future. I'm super optimistic that things are going to, you know, to work out for our good. And I think especially, but again, it you know, it's a choice. It's always a choice. You always have a move. And man, I'm just, yeah, 100%. I feel super grateful. I feel super grateful to be alive. We're alive at the greatest time in the world. When, you know, when you get shut down and you can't go to the office, guess what? You can fire up a Zoom, or you can fire up a live stream, right? And, you know, we have, there's no limitations on your ability to communicate with millions of people through social media and all the networks and things that we have created. It's unbelievable. It's like, you know, and you know, if there's skills or things that you need to dust off a little bit and need to kind of get up to speed on the tech side of things, what a great opportunity to do that, right?
Now is the time.
100%. 100%.
So for everybody, listen, as we close out our session for today, what are 3 things that they should be focusing on over the next 30, 60, 90 days that can help them get through this?
Sure. 30, 60, 90 days. So number one is, I believe that you got to create a plan that's going to lead to revenue generating activities. You have to have a plan that is going to be focused on generating revenue. So I think that, you know, if there is a, you know, there's just no excuse not to try to figure it out. Okay. So, you know, with me, that comes from setting a goal, reverse engineering the math behind the goal of the revenue that I want to hit. Whenever I feel, whenever I do that, like whenever I need to refocus, I always go back to the math. So the number one thing that I can tell anybody to do is create a personal economic model. You know, this is not a budget. This is a model. This is a business model. This is a forecast of what you want to accomplish from a revenue standpoint by when. And then what are the daily activities that we need to be doing in order to reach that goal? For me, it's unit economics. Like you heard me talk about from the very beginning when it comes to sales. That's one of the things that you learn is how to break down the goal. Listen, I knew that I needed to talk to 25 people. I have control over that. I had control over 25 conversations, right? And prior to the 25 conversations, I had control over the 200 dials that it took to get the 25 conversations. So get things down to, so thing number one is, you know, identify the goal for revenue generation and break it down to the revenue generating activities that you can be doing every day right now, given your current circumstances. Okay. If you can't, you know, meet somebody face to face, well, then meet on Zoom. If you can't, and then you can the reason why you start with that goal and that economic goal is maybe your numbers are different over technology. Maybe you close 50% of people face to face. Maybe it's only 25% over a Zoom, right? But we'll know that that's a knowable number. So that's why we reverse engineer it. That's thing number one. So thing number two is I think that you got to focus on personal development and the fundamentals right now. Right now is a time to get refocused. You know, if you've been off your game, give yourself permission to and forgive yourself and move forward right now. Stay committed to your personal development. That means putting in positive, good things. what books are you going to be, that you're going to be reading, right?
Yes.
What routine is going to work for you? If it's, the miracle morning or whatever it is, what is that daily routine that's going to give you success? Recommitting to that and making sure that you're you're safeguarding yourself against the negativity that is around you, because let's be real, the negativity is at a heightened state. So you have to counteract that. You have to counterbalance that with positivity, right? So that would be thing number 2. I think thing number 3, and I guess this is really, I think, tied into probably thing number 1, and I'll maybe give you 4. Okay.
All right.
So thing number 3, I'm going to say is fill the pipeline. Fill the pipeline, right? And that's related to the revenue generating activities. But like, instead of having the mindset of like, well, I can't do business right now, or I can't do this. Well, how do you fill the pipeline for the second that you can, right? How do you get your pipeline full so when things are ready to go, you're ready to explode?
Yes.
Right? And you're calculating, and you're giving yourself runway. So I know, man, I've got all of this stuff in the works. So man, when I'm have the ability to turn it on, it's going to come rushing out like a dang, waterfall, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, and then I think that the last thing that I was going to say is, man, I just lost it. But I think that those 3 will probably serve you well. Fill the pipeline. Get focused on the revenue generating activity, or set the goal. Get focused on the revenue generating activity. Focus on the personal development. Like, pour it in right now, and I think that you'll be good, man, over the next 30, 60 days. But now, here's the good news: is there's more attention available. Like, it's funny because people are pulling back advertising right now, and my people are advertising more than they ever have, because attention is at a discount right now because of supply and demand. There's more people on social media. There's more people on their devices. There's more traffic available. So traffic is cheaper right now. So if you do understand marketing, I'd rather pay, 30 cents for a click than $1, right? I'd rather pay, 10 cents for an eyeball than 20. That just supply and demand. So right now is a great opportunity to really step it up, and get in the game when it comes to, advertising as well.
I love it. Hey, Woods, how can anybody find you if they wanted to ask you a couple of questions?
Yeah. The best way to find me is probably to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram, just Woods Davis. You can find me. I've got a pretty uncommon name, so you can find me. Just make sure if you grab me on Facebook, I've got a couple of personal pages. Don't grab the Woods Davis team. Grab Woods Davis. That's my my public profile. Whichever one has the most followers, just go with that one, and that'll be the real deal. All right.
Thank you, Woods. You're awesome as usual.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Trisha. And I know that you're, I know I'm just like, feel like I'm preaching to the choir over here, but you inspire me to do a lot. I recognize the way that you run your business, the way that you manage your relationships, and man, I just feel blessed to know you, and I'm glad that we could spend some time together. I hope I added a little bit of value to your audience today.
Always. I love spending time with you. Definitely. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Have a great day.
All right. Thanks. I'll see you.
Bye, Woods.